Okay, this is a little mini video before the real video. And it's kind of like those shows where they bake the cake and the cake's already done and then they show you how to bake it because they have time lapse or whatever the heck. But anyway, here's the blouse that isn't done in the video you're about to watch. It's much later in the day and the blouse is all done. This is the butterick that I showed you the other day. That I said I was just going to give up on it and I was going to do sure fit designs. Well, I decided not to do that. I decided to go ahead and cut it apart and raise up the sleeve and raise up the top and do it the Joy Mahon way. And it worked out just fine. You can see I'm wearing it and it fits me. But anyway, I wanted to tell you, I made the video a while ago to show you a really cool way to put sleeves in. And when I played it back, I noticed that I forgot to take the Band-Aid off my ear. So when you're watching it, well, at least when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna think there's a giant lump of dirt on my ear, or a blob of clay, or some kind of new earring or whatever. So I just wanted to explain that what happened was I burned the back of my ear with a curling iron a couple days ago. And today, when I got out of the shower and I was fixing my hair, I saw something sticking off my ear, and I thought, oh my God, there's a piece of tape on my ear from sewing, and so I grabbed it and just pulled it. I didn't have my glasses on, and it turned out to be the skin on top of that burn, and I just peeled it all off the back of my ear. Ow! So I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to comb my hair or put hairspray or anything. So I went and I got a Band-Aid and wrapped it around, and it didn't really fit right. And so I intended to take it off when I got there fixing my hair, and I forgot to. So when you watch the video that's coming up with me in the blue blouse, you're going to see this blob on my ear. I just wanted to tell you what it was, okay? Hey everybody, Joy here. It's Saturday, about noon, May 16, 2015. And I wanted to do a better video for you guys of a better way to put sleeves in than that double row of gathering. I put that video on my YouTube channel years ago, and I get more comments from that video that I made than all others put together. People just love that fast way of putting a sleeve in. So much better than those 2 rows of gathering stitches that you have to pull together, and then they just make a bunch of bumps and you have to smooth them all out when you sew, and it's a royal pain. So I wanted to show you, I'm going to take a better video of that soon, but I'm not right now. Right now I'm going to show you another way, a third way that you can put a sleeve in, okay? I happen to be doing it in a knit today, but you can do this in a woven or a knit. Now, these tips, neither one of these ways of doing a sleeve came from me. I learned the one where you put your finger behind the foot and you hold it. I learned that from Sandra Betzina. This one I learned from Louise Cutting. Okay, this is her thing, and it works really great too. So, here's my top. I already have one sleeve in it, and that's when I thought about it. I thought, oh, before I put the other sleeve in, I should show this to everybody. So you start out with your top wrong side out, okay? See? Here's the boob dart. Here's the other sleeve. It's wrong side out. I actually sewed this with black thread because it was the only color I had that was in here that made any sense. I didn't have any pink, the right color, and I thought white would show up too much, so I used black. So you'll be able to see it. Okay, here's the sleeve. Now I'll tell you another tip about sleeves. Philly, when she sews with me, she's always, you're so fast, I can't believe how fast you make things. Well, I make things fast because I have all these shortcuts I do that really help me. So see, I haven't put this sleeve in the blouse yet, but it's already hemmed. The hem is all done. See the inside? Hemmed up with steam-a-seam too. And if I want to sew around it later, of course I can, but I may not. So the sleeve is all done, so once I get it in the blouse, and you know, think about it, it's so much easier to deal with this little tiny piece when you're putting the hem in it than to deal with the whole blouse put together already, in any case, no matter what you're making. At least that's the way I see it, okay? So your sleeves, right side out, your garments, wrong side out. Now, you have 4 places that you've got to look for. You have the notch at the top of the sleeve, which matches the shoulder seam on the blouse. You've got the little double notch, which doesn't really match anything, but you make sure you're on the side of the blouse that has a double notch. It may be a 1/2 inch off from each other, but you make sure you've got 2 on the sleeve and 2 on the blouse. Otherwise, you're putting your sleeve in backwards. You also have the underarm seam of your sleeve. You're going to match it to the underarm sleeve of your blouse, and then you have the single notch. The single notch goes on the side of your sleeve opening that has a single notch. Again, they may not line up, all right? Okie doke. We're going to take the sleeve and drop it down in the hole. See there? Dropped it down. You got to have pins. Get some pins. Now let me tell you about pins. You know, if you're going to sew much, get some nice pins. I get fine, I think they're called silk pins or something. And they're not real long. Some of them are like swords. These are little glass head pins, not plastic, glass head pins, and they're 1.25 inches long. And that's what I used to sew with. Now, another thing about pins that you need to know, I'm going to start out with the top notch on the blouse and the top notch on the shirt. And I'm going to match them together. Now, let me tell you about the seam. The shoulder seam in the blouse. There's different trains of thought on the shoulder. There's different trains of thought on everything. But for me, and I learned this from Linda Lee, the shoulder seam up here, right here, if you will press it to the front of your blouse instead of to the back of your blouse, you won't be able to see this seam here from the front. It will just go away. Okay? Good tip. I've used it ever since I heard Linda Lee talk about it. All right, so that's facing forward. All right, find the top of your shoulder, which I've dropped now, and match it to the seam of that top shoulder seam. Now, when you pin, let me see if I can get close enough. Don't pin out here on the edge unless you're going to sew out there on the edge. Don't pin like this because the pins are going to be majorly in your way and you can't sew over them that way. And yes, I do sew over pins sometimes. Put the pin in where you're going to sew. At the 5/8 inch line, that's where you're going to sew. And don't stick the pin in and then take a gigantic bite like that with the pin. You know, you got 1.25 inches there, so you can take a great big bite with the pin. Don't do that. Put it in the 5/8 inch area and take a tiny little bite, like a stitch. You know, when your sewing machine's going to sew it, it's going to take a little stitch. Take a tiny bite at the 5/8 inch line. Okay? All the way sewing. Do that anytime you're pinning seams together. If your seam's 3/8 inch, put the pin in, take a tiny little bite at the 3/8 inch mark. If it's a 1/4 inch, take a tiny little bite at the 1/4 inch mark. I'm taking one at 5/8. Okay, I put the top on with the pin. Then I find the bottom. And the bottom matches up to somewhere here. Where are you? Here we go. Side seam. Side seam's ironed toward the back, away from the bust dart. So the side seam in the sleeve goes the other direction. But in this case, I've ironed mine flat, so I'm just going to put it on flat in the sleeve. This is the blouse, and this is the sleeve. Okay? Again, line up the seam that you sewed. Stick your pin in at the 5/8 inch line. Take a tiny bite, 1/8 inch. All right. Now, you have your blouse pinned. I have it pinned to the V-neck line. Don't do that. Pin it to the top of the shoulder, not the top of the V-neck. Check your work, check your work, check your work. Check it 10 times, sew it once. Okay, so we'll do that again, tiny bite at 5/8 inch. All right, now, We have the shoulder pinned and the underarm pinned. We look and we see, do we have a double notch there and a double notch there? See there? If that's not a double notch, matching up to a double notch, stop the train, get off, and start over. Go get some coffee or some chocolate or something. All right, now here's the trick. Here's the trick to ease the sleeve in without the gathering. No sewing machine involved until you're going to sew the sleeve in, okay? And hopefully the camera can pick this up. You see your finger? Your round finger. You're going to take your finger and you're going to put it inside on the back side of the sleeve. Here's the sleeve. I'm putting my finger in here, inside the sleeve, and I'm going to roll the sleeve around my finger, okay? Now, you have to roll the sleeve. Your finger has to be inside on the sleeve and roll, because that's how you're going to take the ease out of the sleeve. And this is what Louise Cutting taught us, okay? So you line it up, you roll it around your finger. It's easier to do if you're not standing in front of a camera, believe me. Find your 5/8 inch. Stick your pin in, try not to impale your finger. I pin it to my finger and then I turn it. Go to the next spot. Wrap it around your finger. Around your finger. 5/8 inch, put your pin in, take a tiny bite, okay? So let me show you here. Can you see the 2 tiny bites that I've taken? That's the sleeve. This is the blouse. This is the blouse. And you can see that the sleeve is already gathered in there, can't you? But it's flat. It's flat. It's easy to sew on. It's wonderful. I love Louise for showing us this. If you don't know Louise Cutting, buy one of her patterns sometime, Cutting Line Design. She is the queen of directions. She gives absolutely fabulous directions. Even if you never sew one of her patterns, she teaches you a lot in her directions. See, and you keep wrapping it around your finger, wrapping it around your finger, and that's how I'm easing it out. Wrap it around your finger, 5/8 inch. Sorry, I'm not doing very good at getting this lined up right here, am I? 5/8 inch. Here's my 2 notches. They're not close. One of them's here, one of them's here. But I don't care anymore. I used to get so upset about that. All right, and I'm rolling it around my finger. 5/8 inch, stick a pin in, take a 1/8 inch bite. And now see, from the notch all the way to the side seam, there's nothing else to ease. It's all eased in already. So all I have to do is pin that part together, and that's the way it should be. The easing should be from those notches up to the shoulder. Okay? So here we are. See my pins? Please see my pins. Let me see, how can you see them best? See the little tiny bites I took on the 5/8 inch line? And on the other side is the sleeve, and you can see how the gathering is all there. Is that cool or what? Gathered around your finger. Oh my gosh! No sewing machine, no foot. And so you do the other side the same way. I won't keep you here forever. You do the other side the same way. You take it over to your machine. You put the sleeve part, the part with the gathers, you put it on the feed dogs. And the feed dogs help feed it too. But you're not going to have any problem with ripples, and you have to go a little slower. You got all those pins in there. Do I sew over pins? Sometimes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I can show you my sleeve that's in here. This is the one I sewed in. I don't even have it trimmed yet. You can see that. Did it the exact same way about an hour ago. And you can see it is perfect. Perfect. Now this is a slinky knit too. No gathers, no rumples, no folds, no thread, no gathers, no nothing. Wonderbar! All right. So Terry's coming over in a little bit to work on her quilt, so I have to go get my lunch. But the next blouse I'll do another video of the kind where you hold your finger behind the foot. That works really good for cotton. And you can do that with this too, but this is even better, I think. So I'll do another one because my first one, I had my old camera and it's real poor quality. And so I'll do a better one. Some people say, well, I wish I could see what you were doing. Well, I wish they could too. But anyway, that's it for now.